Think we might be
Ah,
live now. We're live now. Hello,
Díhuit I gach duine.
Deirdre,
Díomh.
just Snowbird.
Agus lá féal na fádraigh.
Kunasatutol. Hello, I'm John from Broadsheet. Very welcome to tomorrow tonight on St. Patrick's Day. Joining us live from the GPO, where he's starting the 2021 Rising. We go live to Heber Rowan. Hello, Heber.
Hi, John.
How are you? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
The same to yourself. I even broke out the antique broken harp, but may still work again with a new string.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed the tricolor there. So
yes. I have a little miniature flag.
Wonderful.
Yes.
The
internet video that was popular from the Ireland Reddit sub today was showing one kid wearing a green shirt, one kid wearing an orange shirt, and the both of them playing around a bin and having a laugh.
Oh, saying, good. Okay.
Oh, that's the peace process.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. So how was your day?
Very hard to believe. It really is St. Patrick's Day, bar a few texts that came in from people here and there. It is just really unbelievable. Did a little bit of shopping for a few errands that had to be done. Yeah. And everywhere is just absolutely dead up in the northwest of Ireland. Really, you'd see a few tricolours outside houses, but there is absolutely no sign of anything. It's just a world forever changed, and the sad meme that's been shown is the Kermit the Frog looking mournfully out the window going, oh, St. Patrick's Day 2020 and then 2021. Here we are. I even thought, why don't we even show or even look at last year's Tomorrow Tonight if there was one of this same day last year as a bit of comparison. But it really does bigger belief a year on, and like many things we'll be looking at a year on for many different things. It is just inevitably part of how we'll try and reconcile all that's changed and all that's happened within this year. So onwards to the papers, I suppose.
Yeah, Heber, you're in Sligo. Whereabouts in Sligo are you?
I'm in. Well, at the moment, I'm out in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out in the countryside.
Yes.
Right.
Na Fuin Tua.
Okay. And like life must just be normal, no? I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, like you wouldn't bar people you'd see around at the shop in the local post office shop. You would see people wear masks, all right, but they're much more casual in some ways about all that than say going into Sligo town where people would be wearing masks and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's a different world compared to Dublin, where the idea of walking down Grafton Street, seeing all the people there, or even meeting a whole bunch of people, I can definitely say I am rather socially isolated.
So. Yeah, I know. I mean, how do you Zoom all day or?
Some days, yeah. I've had I think my record was 12 different Zooms in one day between various work calls, and a couple of months ago it was mad. But
you're not writing any columns for us lately, though. I don't know.
No. I've been busy enough, and I need to get writing properly. So my apologies. So
not
I need to get to it.
But the Zooms will ease up your time. Thursday's papers, then. Great picture of this girl at the Collins Street, by the way. Rolling News have some excellent photographs. Sort of seems to represent the Irish spirit today.
Very reminiscent of the 1940s sort of postcards of Ireland of the age, the ones that were recolorized and painted.
Yes, yeah. The John Hind kind of effect. EU's vaccine war.
Exactly the one I was looking for, John Hind.
Right. EU's vaccine war threat to unblock UK jabs, urges Martin. British rollout to stall for a month. This is the sort of pretty much the same in the UK papers. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, there's the constant talk now that we're playing too good as the good boy, having taken in by the collective bargaining position of the EU, and UK now having the one advantage of being outside, they can demand a different position when it comes to negotiating with the vaccine companies. I think there's been sort of talk pushed that, in the good old days of cute tourism of Irish politics not so long ago, that we would have pushed further than. Oh, where have you gone?
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm still here. So the screen just jumped. That we would have taken the position of the temerity to simply say, hey, we know we're already getting the EU vaccines, but would you give us some more? And this is something that's been related with discussions between Micheál Martin and US President Joseph Biden, that the expectation is that, okay, do you have any spare vaccines? Will you give them to your old friends, the Irish, please? Because you're clearly moving forward with them faster and manufacturing them domestically in the United States than in Ireland. In the past week, there's been a lot of discussion about how Ireland isn't actually manufacturing any vaccines domestically, despite having a massive range of pharmaceutical industries in Ireland, but we don't actually manufacture any of these different vaccines that are rolling out.
We do loads of vaccines. I mean, we export.
Oh yes, but not. We don't have apparently the infrastructure for a new one. So a lot that are made at the moment are done in the Netherlands, I believe, and other places around Europe, such as the Czech Republic, I believe, in terms of where the COVID vaccines are being said. Like the big thing that sort of strikes me looking at the news of today and in the 6-1 news primarily is that, as you can see from the Irish Examiner there, it's a rather dystopian, is what I would describe it. Picture of Micheál Martin on a television screen, maybe looking like he's Bosco, just popping up behind a box there. That black curtain is actually, him underneath it.
Yes.
It is just hard to believe. It is really very, very hard to believe. And all the other Zooms that happened, like, no doubt, yes, there is diplomacy work happening today, and Ireland does have that privileged position of keeping it to this day, which sometimes it doesn't happen on this day when the in-person diplomatic meeting happens. However, it is still very, very odd, and the interpersonal aspects of meeting together, discussing matters of international affairs does matter over a meal, the informal talks. That matters in every fora. As they sort of say, real diplomacy is when they break ice over whiskey.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, it seemed to have gone well, and
yeah, it seems to have gone well. I mean, despite all the discussion about it for so long, ultimately, Biden is playing to his base in the way he knows he can, and he even referred in his speech to his predecessor not being Donald Trump but being Obama.
Yeah.
And that was quite notable in that, like, okay, Obama was of the same party as him, but Trump was his technical predecessor. That is the fact.
Yes. Yeah.
Matter. So very, very odd that was sort of ignored.
Was it a Biden gaffe, or was it something more pointed? And
no, it wasn't really pointed out as anything like that. It just was pointed out in the news as, well, that was just part of his overall general broad statement of we did well.
Okay.
So I see the Irish Sun there.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the Irish Examiner. Tourism Chief Hale's plan for COVID travel certificate. This is Owen O'Mara Walsh said the digital certificates are a lifeline for the beleaguered industry. Are you a supporter of these vaccine passports, travel certificates?
I am. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that.
Not at all.
Sorry.
You need to take advice before you answer that.
No, just I was just interrupted for a second.
Okay.
So yes, so about the vaccine passports. Yeah, they're looking at the broader EU, it's member states taking a position that if you have evidence of having become immune or have taken a vaccine that clearly works for you, then you will have Schengen level rights to travel all without the EU. And when we think of all the different people who aren't able to renew their passports, even myself included at the moment, that new passports coming forward might have a new automatic note put in or observation that there is a vaccine given.
Yeah.
That this would be different from any tropical diseases at the moment. That is quite something, because it makes people very, very much concerned that this is all part of a plan of change. But in terms of immediate sort of changes and everything for rolling out people to travel faster, I think that would happen. But
Right.
the other effect is that, well, people who are vaccinated first, i.e. those vaccinated, might in general just be timid about traveling because of their health concerns, and that's quite yeah, perhaps it's too early for him to the tourism chief to say it's great news, so I wouldn't
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's a big concern. I mean, it's something that was a conspiracy theory up to this year, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget any conspiracy theory is simply some people getting together in a room and deciding this is our plan of action, this is our strategy. Whether the main thing to consider is whether it actually has harms on our freedoms, and whether there's correct respect for GDPR all throughout it. That's absolutely fundamental. I'll just note briefly, now that you passed by the Irish Sun.
Sorry, I didn't want to dwell on that.
Cheltenham, we do have to note also as another moment of note in terms of our recent history. It went ahead last year, and that was castigated by a number of people at the time, but it still went ahead due to over 120 million for all of it. Being garnered, and this year it went ahead. Just yesterday, and
are there people watching the races? I mean, are the people there?
Well, funnily enough, from what I've been told, the Irish and English cohorts or teams, groups, they're actually kept physically separate. Oh. So all their trainers, this and that, people who are essential to run the show, they're all kept physically apart, so they don't actually intermix, even though the horses, so on and so forth, are there. But the Irish did win an Irish female jockey whose name unfortunately escapes me.
Elizabeth Blackmore.
That's her. The very one on the horse Sucklemore and
Honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle, yes. And that was quite a thing, because there are relatively very few female jockeys in the past, and so it does sort of make a bit of a statement about the changing nature of racing, which of course has been very, very negatively affected in recent weeks by the scandal of a certain trainer sitting on a deceased.
Elliot, did any of his horses win at Cheltenham?
I can't say. I've more or less exhausted my knowledge of racing.
But there's not like people on the lash over there now, are there? Right?
No. But my personal opinion on it is that while it does generate a lot for the Irish and UK economies, fundamentally it is just run by the gambling industry, which does prosper a lot. And now we've seen a huge increase in online gambling, which does not have the same limits as a physical brick and mortar shop would.
Well, this is it. I mean, gambling had become almost a kind of a lockdown industry, hadn't it? Before the lockdown, it was perfectly set up for lockdown. And, there's stuff going on all over the world, bets, available. There's horse racing going on, they're very captive. It's a captive audience there for the gambling companies, isn't it? If you're,
it is.
lonely at home or whatever.
And the many addictions now they've no outlet, nowhere to go.
Yeah.
As you note there on the Echo, COVID sees addictions on the rise. Gambling is just one of them, as is alcoholism and so much else. We are attempting to medicate away our suffering, and let's not call it anything otherwise. It is genuine suffering by people up and down, young and old, young and old. The amount of people who are drinking a bottle of wine or two a night to make ends meet of what's going on, just to figure out, and they may not have worked in over a year. It beggars belief.
Yeah, there's much kind of spiraling going on. How are your family, by the way? Sorry, Heber.
Oh, thank you for asking, John. Yeah, it's not been easy, but as I sort of keep saying, you remind yourself, well, one day at a time, Life goes on.
This is it. Yeah, the old AA motto.
It is apparently a thing from the army days of a kind, but it does have a truth to it that no matter what,
just one day is exactly. This is your local paper, the Sligo Weekender.
Indeed, indeed.
Is the Sligo Champion not Irish owned anymore? Is that what they're?
Well, if the Sligo Champion was part of Independent News and Media.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes, so, under Dennis O'Brien's umbrella corporation, so to speak, and
under this new company that took over, this Danish.
The Danish arm. Forgive me there. Yes, they have been part. They've been looking over it. So the Sligo Weekender says quite rightly that they're the only locally owned and Irish operated newspaper of Sligo. The founder of the Sligo Weekender famously, after he was made redundant from the Seihan video tape factory a number of years ago in the late 1970s, he created the newspaper as a way of deciding, okay, well, feck it, I like writing and might as well just give it a go.
Yeah, God, interesting. And they put I don't actually see the actual paper, but their covers are always very good, and classic local paper kind of stuff, but well presented. And what's the fish? Is this a symbol of Sligo, or?
Well, yes, that is the salmon of knowledge.
Of course, sorry.
Yes, and the salmon of knowledge is a large 3.5 meter sculpture outside Sligo Institute of Technology, which will be perhaps a technical university in time. So it is a very, very big statue.
Yeah, it's a big fish. Criminals use postal service to send cash and drugs. I think that's been
happening for over a decade. I mean,
I think since the postal service began, it's just the Pony Express. So anyway,
but I mean, there's no real talk of the online drug trade in the same way as before. But when you can be fairly confident that a very, very small amount of some material will not be confiscated, because the overall costs to the state of confiscating 10 euros worth of cannabis is just not worth it when it goes by mail, when they want to go after a bigger fish. The thing is, a cost benefit decision is always made at the mail centres, and there's only so much they can get through. An average 5 to 10% is estimated as the total
that they get.
Total estimate.
And what about those dogs? Those dogs are really good, the sniffer dogs.
Oh yes. And Ireland has 4 or 5 of them active, noses, as they're called, at any time. Yeah. And the dog trainers for them are fully employed on a full-time basis to look after these dogs and train them in certain techniques and make sure they are well housed. And their officers have tax expensable allowances of dog food, among other things.
It's all right.
Yeah, that is a fact.
And they're olfactory senses. Their nose, they're sort of like 1,000 more than an average dog almost. They're even more.
Well, they are the best of the best. They are.
Well, James is very good, and there's another guy called Marley who's coming up. Brilliantly named Marley, who's getting them all. But
unfortunately, though, the dogs are sort of like a horse. They only have a few years of useful work out of them, and then they're no longer welcome in terms of their working life. And then they may be kept by the officers for their personal lives or so, but it's emotionally draining for the officers concerned. And perhaps RTE you should do a whole thing about the lives of these officers and the care of these dogs.
Yeah, no,
There you go. If any of them are listening, there's an idea for a
completely.
show. Very light TV.
But the trainer can take the dog. I mean, can take.
Possible, but I mean, sort of like
They burn out. They
they do burn out. I mean, it is a tough working life for them. Hence, so they only have a few years of working life. Like, say, you maybe 4 or 5 years tops, because
yeah.
that's
And,
it.
and the dogs are probably very concerned about the legalization of cannabis as well. I mean, it'll put them all out of a. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Very good cover of the Telegraph in terms of what they're trying to say here.
Vaccine rollout to paralyze rollout.
Vaccine shortage, yeah, but it's an EU Brexit war by any other means. Using vaccine as
a good old trade war. We haven't seen those really since the 1930s.
Or since the Cod War. I don't know if you're probably too
the
young
Cod
for
War,
the
yes,
Cod War.
yes.
COVID jabs for under 50s delayed by a month due to vaccine shortages. That's in Britain. The Football Association in Britain, they've issued formal apologies after an inquiry said that the generation of young footballers suffered horrific sexual abuse because of wholesale absence of child protection policies, ignorance and naivety. So
it reminds me of Scouting Ireland, unfortunately.
Swimming Ireland.
Or Swim Ireland.
Yeah, Swim Ireland.
Yeah, Swim Ireland. Very, very sad. I mean, the big thing that strikes me is that in 2019, new charities legislation came out in Ireland that had heavy governance structures that partially applied to charities, not so much sporting organizations as much, but the whole complaint was, the governance protections are too much, too burdensome, they'll close down charities. But if you didn't have good governance in place, actively working, policies that were actually implemented, then you wouldn't be complaining about all these things. And one of those things is child protection, which we have a raft of legislation on for good reason, because so many bad things have happened. And this is just indicative of how serious and continuous we have to take it non-stop.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, wherever children are, these guys will be there. I mean, they're cunning, and they operate in rings. Like so many coaches in Ireland. And they're bloody cunning. I mean,
they are, and there's even an American organization that openly promotes pedestry and pedophilia. NAMBLA. That is the name.
Yeah. And there was one in Britain called PI, Pedophile Information Exchange. Tell me,
that's disturbing news, but
not too sure about this story, but misused donation from supporters claim former allies. The English Defence League founder. Britain faces significant COVID vaccine shortages. Did express proof if you need it. EU will never let it go.
The Brexit war continues.
Yeah. Surprise slump in vaccine supplies. We'll grab your jabs.
Puns in the tabloids. I mean, there is a lot of talent in the tabloids. I mean, you have to limit yourself to a certain vocabulary to reach the audience, reach the market.
No, yeah, I know it's clever kind of wordplay. This is the New Statesman. The system cannot hold. Paraphrasing Yeats.
Reminds me of Glenties.
All right.
Yeah, 3 years ago, the one of their conferences was called "The Centre Cannot Hold." That was the
right.
So something related to a lot in terms of Irish politics.
Yeah, this is a great illustration here. This Keir Starmer, and you could say the same about Ireland. Really, the Irish political scene.
Oh, one of the funny things that was pointed out even this past week was Leo Varadkar's LinkedIn page still has him as Taoiseach.
Right.
That may well have been, just a genuine mistake, that's fairly common enough, but still in the context of everything, rather funny.
Well, what do you think about these? Do you think he should step aside while he deals with these complaints, the Official Secrets Act, the leaking?
Absolutely. I think that, like, if we put it in context, like Darrell Breen stepped aside because he had a bit more integrity to just say, no, I accept my punches where they come. I screwed up. That's it. Bye. And Phil Hogan made his political death with all of his chauvinism and, I'm too big to fail. You can't force me out. Talk for so long after the Golfgate situation. Leo Varadkar knows he's very, very favored still, and he knows that his party is very, very popular, and that this will probably blow over because people fear Sinn Féin more than they do a big investigation on him. And the thing is, the Gardaí haven't come knocking on his door at his house yet, and that is a very different thing to Cowan's situation before, where he did have to admit, I really screwed up there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, the guy Che, the whistleblower Che Bo, he's very tenacious, and I think people are very surprised that it's got this far. In fact, I mean, the Irish Times and RT didn't touch the story till now, pretty much. So it's one of those stories that sort of seems to, you think it's going to dead, and then it comes back and
well, it's sort of like if you pardon the metaphor, if you light a fire at night and the ashes grow quite high, the embers will still be burning, and if you put a few things over it the next day, they'll light again. Not immediately, but after about an hour or two, they'll light again, and that fire will keep going.
Absolutely. And if you get a broadsheet newspaper and place it over the fireplace, that'll get the sparks. But then sometimes the paper will light, and anyway, there's a whole conflagration, and you don't want to get involved in.
Danger.
Don't take my advice. I'm not an expert anyway on fires and stuff like that. So
the bad use is a broadsheet.
Yeah, I know. Well, Heber, thank you very much, and thanks for dressing up in your grandfather's 1916 outfit.
Something green for the occasion.
Something green for the occasion. Well, thank you very much, Heber. Hopefully, we'll have a column from you one day. So maybe,
yes.
Maybe after lockdown or whenever you got a moment.
I will.
Okay, thank you very much, Heber.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, and hopefully see you tomorrow night.